Hello, yes, it is me, Jazza, your favourite politically engaged queer on the internet. The world's still on fire, but how are you? Now it's come to the point on this channel where I'll only ever really make videos about 3 topics. One is listing gay media that I enjoy. The second one is whenever there's a significant election that I want to talk about. And the third thing is obviously the pinnacle of Western civilization, the Eurovision Song Contest. I won't bore you with a justification as to why I am an authority on the contest. I have several videos that clearly show that I am a true fan and that I may be presenting my views in a campy and over-the-top way, but I 100% sincerely hold them. Eurovision, if anything, is a representation of a future utopia. A society where we have done away with war and instead replaced it with the joys of doing battle through song and glitter. I genuinely do love it, and I tune in every year and I listen to every single one of the songs and have extensive spreadsheets on what I think of each of those songs. If you don't believe me, see my last video about this year's contest. And so you would think that I am really quite ecstatic about the fact that Netflix has just released a feature-length movie about the Eurovision Song Contest. You would be wrong about that assumption. Now, I take Eurovision very seriously, but I don't take it so seriously that I would expect any movie made about the contest to be anything other than a comedy. Let's be fair, Europe and Australia, we're quite ridiculous. Now, at this moment in time, I actually know very little about the Netflix movie Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga, but I have seen the trailer, and there's one glaring concern that I have, and that is with the person who stars in the movie and who has written the screenplay, and that is Will Ferrell. And I don't want to spoil anything for you for the rest of the video, but
Clear your throat. Lubricate.
I don't think Will Ferrell is funny. I don't know what it is about him. He's always irked me. I look through the likes of Blades of Glory. He was the worst thing in the Zoolander movies. I think Elf is just offensively unfunny. Anchorman is what all of the straight boys at school used to quote, and for that I'm never actually going to watch it myself. And I understand that he's critically acclaimed, people love him. But he is not my taste, and I, as a Eurovision fan, demand that the movie made about the contest that I love cater to my needs, and I don't understand why I wasn't consulted in this. I thought it would be useful for research purposes to find out why people find Will Ferrell funny. So I called my brother and decided to see if he had any input on that. Hello, I have a question. Why is Will Ferrell funny?
Why is anyone funny?
No, this isn't a philosophical question, Zach.
Answer that question about anyone that you find funny.
Their wit, their ability to construct jokes. Why does he make you laugh?
Because he's silly.
Right. Do you think I need to lighten up a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
He's, like, obviously, I find him funny.
Great, that's all I needed. I'm recording this for a video. You can consent out of it if you want, but I hopefully it'll be good.
Okay.
Alright, thank you. That's all I needed. Goodbye, I've used you now.
Alright.
My straight brother there. So, I feel like, in order for me to like this movie, and I really want to like this movie, I want to like anything that is Eurovision branded, I need to go into this with as open a mind as possible. That said, there are going to be things that are non-negotiables for me, and we will have a checklist for when I watch this movie. Firstly, there needs to be cameos of previous winners and contestants, And most importantly, one from Verka Serduchka, because she is our queen. Secondly, there needs to be an understanding of the importance of hairography to the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm thinking Elena from Cyprus a couple of years ago, representing her nation, coming in second, loads of pyrotechnics everywhere. That level of camp needs to be represented in the performances, specifically hairography. I also quite desperately, because I am in lockdown, want there to be shirtless muscly men. Think a Sergei Lazarev or a Mons Zolmalov. Better still, have both of them there. Just naked. Am I creepy? Yes, I am. Okay, I'll move on. And finally, and this is the only one that I actually think I am taking seriously, the music has got to be good. Because Eurovision is camp and ridiculous and over the top, but also some really great music has been written over the past 50 years and won. And I want that to be recognised. It's not just Europeans being mad. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go away and watch, and then I will come back and let you know what I thought of it. Very good.
I love you.
Okay. It is the morning after the night before. I have popped my Eurovision Song Contest Fire Saga cherry, and don't worry, I am going to tell all. Broadly, I liked it. Spoiler-free review, I thought it was a fun homage to the Eurovision Song Contest that laughed at itself, that laughed at the contest, knew all of the reference points, had some great fan service. There's one part of the film that literally has me screaming with homosexual Eurovision fan joy. I won't spoil it for you in this part of the video, but it's good. It is good, though, despite Will Ferrell. There are a lot of unnecessary dick jokes, like that are just out of place. And I wanted to be relaxed and to let Will Ferrell wash over me in its stupidity. And it just didn't really work. So he's the worst thing about the movie. But let's see how many of my criteria it ticked. I have notes, and the first part of my requirements for liking the movie were cameos. I wanted lots of cameos. I wanted to see people that I knew. And to be honest, it delivers. It does very, very well. We have a handful of winners, also some really obscure people who have been contestants in the Eurovision Song Contest over the years. I'm not mad about it. I'm happy they got a paycheck for being on set for a couple of days. But it was very, I was happy with cameos. They didn't overpower it. I would have liked to see more of them acting, perhaps. Maybe being characters in the film. But I'm okay with that. One very important criteria for me was having one of the cameos be Verka Serduchka. And, spoiler, she isn't in it. And that, I have a theory as to why. Part of the vibe of this movie is that Europeans take Eurovision very seriously. Let's laugh at them taking this ridiculous, campy, over-the-top competition so seriously. And Verka Serduchka doesn't gel with that because she's so obviously not taking it seriously. She wears a giant silver star on her head, and she would have frankly stolen the show away from Will Ferrell, being an idiot. And I don't think they would have wanted that. The next prerequisite that I wanted was hairography, and I read this and I don't know where my mind was at last night before I watched this. I don't know, man. I think I just really wanted an Elena fantasy with pyrotechnics and swishing of wigs. And we didn't really get that. There were pyrotechnics, there were over-the-top staging, but to be honest, I'm gonna give this a tick, just because rather than just something generic like hairography, they do have a man in a hamster wheel. And I was not expecting them to have that reference in there to, I can't remember who the actor is, but a Ukrainian act a few years ago who literally had a man in a hamster wheel as part of her act. Bravo. really. So happy about this. It's fantastic. I'm okay with there being a hamster wheel in it rather than Elena doing choreography. We're okay with it. We stand. I also put on here, because I'm very, very thirsty, shirtless men. I wanted lots of shirtless men, and I wanted them in my area. And they delivered. And in a really great way. In this movie, there is a Russian entry to the Eurovision who has lots of gay overtones, dances with shirtless, oiled-up men, and then says, when asked if he's gay, no, there are no gays in Russia, which is literally a line that Vladimir Putin has said. Surprise, there are. And they basically have made this Russian contestant Sergei Lazarev. And I love that reference, and it's very, very good. So well done Fire Saga. And the last thing I needed was good music. And it surprised me, because there is a ton of really good music in this film. Specifically, the actual Icelandic entry to the Eurovision Song Contest, Double Trouble, would not be out of place in an actual Eurovision semi-final. Some of the other ones are a little bit over the top, not very well written. Double Trouble's actually a jam, and may or may not actually now be on my running playlist. Eurovision Gay. That's me. Going into spoiler territory now, but broadly, if you're a Eurovision fan, you're going to like this movie. It has loads of cameos, and it has references to Eurovision culture, and all of that kind of stuff. It's a good, fun romp. It's not going to change your life, but it's a fun time, especially if you like Eurovision. It's just, Will Ferrell does ruin it, and it would be better if he weren't in it, and it was just Amy McAdams. And someone else. Anyway, spoilers from here on out. We start in a small fishing village in Iceland. Lars, played by Will Ferrell, is sitting down, watching everybody else see ABBA win Eurovision with Waterloo. He stands up, starts dancing. A girl who has never really said anything before, who is later played by Amy McAdams, she gets up, starts dancing and singing along as well. All of the parents laugh, and then Lars goes, "No!" in English, weirdly. "No! Why are you all laughing at me? I'm going to win the Eurovision Song Contest today." And that pretty much sets up his character. He wants people to take him seriously. And so he's going to win the Eurovision Song Contest and prove them all wrong. Side note here, we have Piers Brosnan playing the dad of Lars. And when he speaks Icelandic, you know, I don't speak Icelandic, but you know when you can tell that he's not saying it very well? Like, it's very, I memorised these syllables and here are these syllables. He's not speaking that very well. And I'm pretty sure him and Will Ferrell are pretty much the same age? Maybe that's shade on Will Ferrell. I don't know. But it's an odd thing. But Pierce Brosnan does play kind of like the dad in the fishing village who's fucked everybody. And I'm here for that. I appreciated that. They then sing Volcano Man, which was teased in the trailer, which is a ridiculous, ridiculous song. I'm very glad that didn't end up being kind of like carried through the rest of the movie. It's a good, fun entrance to it. And then we get some backstory on Sigrid, who used to not be able to sing and is now trying to hit the Spjörg note. It's a weird thing. They kind of introduce the Spjörg note as this B-plot device of the, oh, is she going to find her Spjörg note? Are the elves going to help her find her Spjörg note? And it's just a high note, really. It wasn't really a necessary part of the plot, but yeah, introduce silly Icelandic sounding thing into the narrative, fine. So Lars and Sigrid are part of a band called Fire Saga, surprise, surprise, and they play in the local pub of an evening, and they have a favourite song called Ya Ya Ding Dong, and this is the first of Will Ferrell's dick jokes. Now, Ya Ya Ding Dong is a jam, and I genuinely quite like it, but it is the first of many dick joke offences that Will Ferrell does. If we had started and stopped at the dick jokes with Ya Ya Ding Dong, then I would have been okay with it. But it is the first of many. Am I still going to listen to Ya Ya Ding Dong on loop on Spotify? Yes. I am. We also here have the first of the Iceland incest jokes, which is funny. I don't know how Icelandic people feel about this, but people keep on mistaking Sigrid and Lars as brother and sister, and Lars always goes, "She's probably not my sister." Fun little population of like 200,000 people. I have Icelandic friends who've joked about that everybody's related and is probably fucking their cousin. I thought that this was a funny running joke. Probably inappropriate, but hey ho, such is life. So Lars' dream is to represent Iceland and win the Eurovision Song Contest. Meanwhile, the Icelandic delegation who decide who represent Iceland at the Eurovision Song Contest are going through trying to figure out who's going to represent them. They find this Icelandic girl called Demi Lovato. It's not actually her name, it's like Katarina or something like that. And they're like, well, this girl's going to win the contest for us, but there's this one guy in the delegation who's like, we can't win it. It'll bankrupt us, which is a wonderful self-aware joke of countries winning the Eurovision Song Contest and then not actually being able to afford it. Similar thing to the Olympics. I had time for that. It was good social commentary, well done movie. So loads of them decide, we want Demi Lovato to win and then represent us. It doesn't matter who else is in the selection process, really, so they just put their hands in a box of tapes and pull out Fire Saga. So Fire Saga are the final act to go through to the selection process for Iceland. In the run-up to Fire Saga performing at the Icelandic show, we have the second of the major dick joke beats that we have in the movie, where Will Ferrell is wearing tight spandex or some kind of like skin tight material, and he's shoving stuff down his pants to make his dick look bigger, which is fine. I'm really relaxed and cool, just let it happen. Why am I so uptight about these dick jokes? But the performance goes really bad, everything falls apart, and they're all very embarrassed. They're meant to go to a boat party afterwards to celebrate Demi Lovato has won, and then the boat explodes, and because Fire Saga never went to the party because they were sulking about how badly the performance went, Fire Saga are the last remaining alternate to represent Iceland, so Fire Saga go to the Eurovision Song Contest because everyone else, including Demi Lovato, has died. I did find this quite funny. Demi Lovato also turns up at various points in the movie being a really unhelpful kind of like premonition ghost, and she's like on fire and covered in sparkles because she was blown up on a boat. I was there for that. I thought that was very good. Well done. I'm making the funny bits of the movie sound so boring. The Icelandic delegation are terrified that everyone's going to laugh at them because they have a joke act representing them now. Clearly, they completely disregarded the fact that Ireland once chose a puppet turkey to represent them, I think in the noughties. To be fair, nobody's taken Ireland seriously since then either, but you know. And they go off to Edinburgh, where the Eurovision Song Contest is being held. And side note here, in order for it to be held in Edinburgh, it means the UK must have won, in this universe, the UK must have won the Eurovision Song Contest the year before. And we know that isn't going to happen anytime soon, because everyone hates us. But it was nice to see the fantasy of what a Eurovision Song Contest hosted in Edinburgh may have looked like. Only in our dreams. It's at this point that we also have our first cameo. We have Salvador Sobral singing his winning Eurovision song that I forget the name of. He's just a busker in Edinburgh singing in Portuguese, and it's really cute. And he's clearly very talented. Very happy that he was there. While everybody's rehearsing, Sigrid and Lars meet the Russian contestant, it's Sergei Lazarev, and they get invited to a party and they go to his mansion in Edinburgh that then overlooks Edinburgh Castle, which I don't think is actually logistically possible in Edinburgh, but That's by the by. When they're at the party, they encounter some Greek statues of the Russian contestant that have large penises. And then they talk about that for a bit. More dick jokes. Try and be chill, Jazza. Be cool. Then, at this party, it is where the best bit of the movie happens. And we get the song-along, which had me just screaming at the TV for a good, 5 minutes. I had a great time. It's basically the sing-off scene of Pitch Perfect, where they kind of battle one another with the different a cappella groups, but with Eurovision Song Contest winners and famous faces. And I just screamed every time I saw somebody that I knew. So there's Bilal is there, John something, who represented Sweden last year, Loreen is there, and I screamed. It was great. We had Netta from Israel who was there. Conchita was there. Alexander Rybak was there. Oh, it was amazing. It would have been nice if they had just done a medley of Eurovision songs. I think that would have been better fan service, but instead they put in a load of American tunes. They had some Madonna, some Black Eyed Peas in there, but also Waterloo and Ne partez pas sans moi, which was the song that Celine Dion won in the 80s. After that, the high point of the movie is basically over, and it's all kind of coasting from there, but we will go on about it. Both Lars and Sigrid sleep with people but don't actually sleep with people, and so it makes them jealous, and so they're all annoyed with each other, whatever, blah blah blah, boring. We get to the semi-finals section, and the notes I have are Graham Norton, basically Lordi, Wee Wee Blogs, San Marino, Spaceman, Greece, Sweden have too many people on stage, and Man in a Hamster Wheel, which is when we get to the Iceland entry. And like I said, Double Trouble, great song, great staging, would have definitely gone through to a final. I would have probably actually voted for it. But obviously, because this is a movie, the performance itself goes really, really badly. Sigrid's scarf gets stuck in the wheel, and it all goes appallingly, but they stand up, they try and complete the song, they finish the song, and then they basically, one guy laughs them off stage, and they get politely clapped. But then we get to the point where they, Lars is really annoyed. He ends up flying back to Iceland, which, to be fair, is not that far from Edinburgh. And Sigrid has to sit there on her own with her gay Russian friend and wait to basically be a laughingstock and be honourable, which was a touching part of the movie. But then the European public start voting for Iceland, and they go through to the final. Very exciting for everybody involved. I'm not sure if this is something that would actually happen in the Eurovision Song Contest. There is the example of the UK Suri's performance a couple of years ago. There was the person who ran on stage and grabbed her mic, and then she continued it and was actually, good on her, represented the country really well, got on with it. But it didn't mean that people actually started voting for us. Nobody gave us a sympathy vote. But you know what? Iceland is more likeable than the UK, so that probably will allow this for narrative purposes. So Sigrid looks like she's going to have to perform on her own. Lars decides to come back because he finds out that they're in the final and people actually voted for them. Nearly gets killed by one of the delegation from Iceland, who actually blew up the boat and tries to kill them because he doesn't want Iceland to go bankrupt from having to host the Eurovision Song Contest. I didn't really care at this point. Oh yeah, the politician Iceland guy gets killed by elves. I've kind of ignored the elves thing in this. Watch the movie. It's not the most interesting part of the movie. Then Lars comes on, they perform the song, it's all very good, everyone sings. She hits the sugu, that note that they mentioned at the very beginning, narrative arc complete, and I did really enjoy that they made it clear that because they changed the song, they were disqualified, And I was like, good on you, Eurovision. Like, they didn't bend the rules. Feel like they wanted to make it very clear that no act is going to get away with changing the song halfway through the actual competition. So I thought that was quite funny. And then they go back to Iceland and people like them. And then they actually are brother and sister, I guess, because Sigrid's mum and Piers Brosnan get together and are married. The incest joke again. It's fine. At this point, Piers Brosnan's Icelandic accent has gone properly Welsh, and then they play a load of Sigur Rós and make everybody happy, and that's the end of the movie. Hey, I liked it. I still maintain that Will Ferrell is the worst thing about the movie. But did it stop me from enjoying it? No, not so much. Do I need to loosen up about dick jokes? Probably. But this was a nice thing to tide me over until we actually get a Eurovision Song Contest hosted in the Netherlands in 2021. So I heartily endorse this product and or event. If you like the Eurovision, then hang around. I have plenty of videos. Here's one about the songs that were meant to be in this year's contest. That'll be nice for you to watch. I'm equally sassy throughout. Or you can press subscribe. Oh, actually, just press subscribe. That's nice. Subscribe's, it's good for me. Numbers are important. They help me release dopamine in my brain. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to go now, I suppose. I'm very bad at finishing videos. Okay, goodbye.